Yeah, ain't tryna be cool like you. Wobbling around in your high heel shoes, I'm clumsy. Made friends with the floor. 2 for 1, you know a bitch by 4. And 2 left feet, you know I always drop. First thing a girl did was a bop. And the whole damn cake and the cherry on top. Shook up the bottom, made a good girl pop.
So I was a big fan of America's Next Top Model. Everyone is.
I followed Christiana on Instagram for a while. I was a fan of hers when I watched America's Next Top Model on TV.
So I watched Christiana the summer before I moved to New York City.
I saw her posting about this thing she was doing called The Real Catwalk.
It was the Catwalk of November 2018.
It was gonna be like kind of a flash mob, like a guerrilla fashion show in the middle of Times Square.
And there's like 200 plus people in like the freezing cold.
I showed up and I had my little lingerie set and I was so nervous.
It was my first time seeing my body in any kind of feminine way.
This was gonna be an opportunity for all people of all walks of life to be celebrating their bodies.
At the time, I had really bad acne. It never went anywhere without makeup.
I had been coming to terms with my body changing, and I was really interested in this idea of publicly like declaring, this is just my body, get over it.
Stepping out without makeup and stepping out with as much skin as I felt comfortable with. That was such a pivotal experience for me in my self-love journey. The Real Catwalk originated as a small, intimate catwalk in Times Square. We had about 9 people there, including Christiana, who's the founder of The Real Catwalk. And that has grown to now over 100, 200 people at a time coming to our catwalks. We have also launched campaigns and turned ourselves into an official 501c3 nonprofit based here in New York City.
So The Real Catwalk is a movement, an organization, a community of people who are highlighting identities, bodies, lived experiences of people that have been pushed away, invalidated, and ignored and erased from our media, from our lives, from the messaging, both direct and indirect, that say you are valid, you are beautiful, and making that space, creating that representation, and really holding that power for all people.
This is a story about today's beauty standards.
I want to know if you want to take it slow. Oh, hop up on my jet and roll to Tokyo.
We launched in February with a really beautiful video styled by Bouvanche, and we had people wearing flowers, and they went to the end of the runway and they stripped it off, like metaphorically taking away the beauty standard.
We were taught to believe there is one narrow path towards beauty. We were taught to worship one specific way of living and being. Today we break from conformity. We strip away the lies to show you the truth, to show you what's real, to show you that nobody can dictate what is and isn't beautiful.
And within a week, we got 50,000 views. We were featured on Refinery 29, we were featured on V Magazine and Glamour UK, and it was just like such a beautiful cluster of just love and support.
The first time that I heard about The Real Catwalk was a friend had messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, this really cool person, Christiana, is hosting a shoot to celebrate transmasculine identity and body and experience. So I walked into the studio, and it was, I think I've been searching for that feeling ever since. It was the first time that I had been in a space that was solely and purposefully set up to highlight and cherish and love trans folks.
The whole purpose of The Real Catwalk is for it to be open casting and for anyone and everyone who wants to be involved to get involved and to feel welcome. So we originally start with Christiana's page, and she'll post on her stories. On our own account, we'll post on our stories, we'll send out a newsletter, and we'll connect with our community that we've already built and spread the word as organically as possible. What usually tends to happen at the actual events is we'll have people walking the runway, and passerbyers will join. And it's like, that's like the most magical part I think about the Real Catwalk, is that people who have no clue what this is, but they can all agree that self-love and like wanting to feel seen and wanting to feel okay in this body of ours is a good mission.
I think the reason that representation is so important is because it informs how we see ourselves, and it informs how we see others. And not only how we see ourselves and others, but how we treat ourselves and others.
I think what we see online and what we see on runways, social media, magazines, billboards, that's the number one way that we determine what's acceptable.
I look back at an era when I was growing up when people like Renee Zellweger were called bigger girls. Mandy Moore was a bigger girl. There's that famous Jessica Simpson picture of when she came out of a performance in these jeans and this big belt, and they were like, she's a cow.
From growing up, you know, we see magazines and tabloids like at the grocery store, like being 5 years old. We're getting gum, and then we're looking at Hillary Duff gained 5 pounds. And at 5 years old, you're like, oh, that's a bad thing. Like, should I not be doing that?
There's a reason I didn't have self-confidence growing up, and it was because I never saw anyone that looked like me. And not just like me as a big girl, like, again, me as like a size 10.
Growing up, I received messages about this is who I am, this is who I need to be. I didn't realize that there was anything but being a girl and existing in those ways. The only thing that I knew about queer and trans folks were negative things that I would hear. So it took me until college to come to my queer and trans identities because of that lack of information, that lack of positive representation.
And that's why what I do now means so much to me, because had I had someone that looked like me in the window of like a Victoria's Secret or Abercrombie & Fitch or whatever, like if I had seen girls that look like me for these fashion brands or on TV, you know, I would be like, well, I think they're beautiful. They look like me. Like, seeing yourself is so important.
The Real Catwalk showed me that not only is there space, but that we are here to break down those boundaries.
There's a multitude of ways that we have seen the Real Catwalk impact people. We get like DMs from people saying like, you've helped me so much, like love my body, or express my pronouns, love my skin.
I get messages from people all the time being like, my body looks like yours. I've never seen anyone that looks like me, you know, when I shop online. And that is, if I've impacted one person in that way, I've done my job.
You see people from 2018 and you see them again in like 2021, 2022 at the Real Catwalk events, and physically they're glowing, if that makes sense. I think that when people really love themselves, you can kind of feel this glow and this warmth and this just like inviting, drawing you in kind of energy. And that's a real change that I've witnessed.
I mean, I'm living proof that there is change happening. You know, I'm not working for Moschino or Prada or anything, but I have 3 New York Fashion Week shows under my belt. I remind myself I am fat because I get ahead of the curve before someone can call me fat, but those kinds of things don't hurt me.
Groups like the Real Catwalk are so unbelievably important because they create the visual representation that shows that all people are beautiful and welcomed. There's this beautiful power in the community that these groups create. It provides the messaging that we exist, we are beautiful. If you're not going to give us space, we're going to take that space, and we're going to continue to use that space to bring out our message of we are here, we are beautiful, and we're not going anywhere.
I'm a bitch and a boss, I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch, I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss, I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch, I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss, I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch, I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss, I'ma shine like glass. I'm a bitch, I'm a boss. I'm a bitch and a boss, I'ma shine like glass.